4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you all for being here. I'm Ken Fisher, Chairman and CEO of the Fisher House Foundation. For more than 30 years, the Fisher House Foundation has supported service members and their families and veterans and their families. At present, we have a network of 91 Fisher Houses throughout the United States, the United Kingdom, and Germany that serve as a home away from home for families of military and veterans whose loved one is being treated for an illness or an injury. Over the 30 years since our founding, the foundation has provided more than 10 million nights of lodging for over 400,000 military and veteran families. It's always an honor for me to be with you today. We have some very special guests that have joined us for this discussion. The First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden, the Secretary of Defense of the United States, Secretary Lloyd, and Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. Thank you for joining us today in support of these athletes and their families and all the warriors they represent across the globe. And also joining us today are many of the athletes and their families that were scheduled to attend and compete in the 2021 Department of Defense Games. Originally scheduled to begin today, the decision was made to cancel the games, obviously, because of the pandemic. The Warrior Games and the Invictus Games have shown just how critical adaptive sports have been in the recovery of our athletes and their families. They have played a vital role in empowering individual effort, rebuilding spirit, and restoring self-esteem. And the resiliency that they are known for is why the teams have pulled together to compete in the Military Adaptive Sporting Virtual Challenge, which kicked off today and runs through the next several days. To the athletes and their families with us today, we thank you for your continued dedication and for taking the time to be with us. Now, as I mentioned before, we are more than honored to have with us the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden. I don't think any more tremendous supporter of these athletes and of adaptive sports as a whole. As the First Lady of the United States, as well as the Second Lady of the United States from 2009 to 2017, Dr. Biden is a military daughter, mother, and grandmother. The daughter of a Navy signalman and the mother of Major Bo Biden, who served in the Delaware Army National Guard, Dr. Biden has been a longtime advocate for military families. In 2011, Dr. Biden launched Joining Forces with then First Lady Michelle Obama, a White House initiative to support military and veteran families, caregivers, and survivors. She has continued joining forces as First Lady, setting the course for its next phase, focusing on military spouse employment and entrepreneurship, military child education, and the health and well-being of military families, caregivers, and survivors. And in 2012, Dr. Biden also released a children's book titled, Don't Forget, God Bless Our Troops, the story of their family's experience with deployment through the eyes of Dr. Biden's granddaughter, Natalie, the year her father, Bo, was deployed to Iraq. Like all of us, Dr. Biden had planned to attend the Warrior Games in person before it was canceled, and we're delighted to have her here virtually today. So let me turn it over to Dr. Biden. Ma'am.
Thank you, Ken. You know, we can always count on the Fisher House. Thank you to you and your team for your commitment to ensuring our wounded, ill, and injured, as well as their families, have what they need throughout the recovery process. And Secretary Austin, your presence says it all. This is personal to you. That's why you show up again and again for those you lead, including through your support of Joining Forces. Joe and I are grateful for you and Charlene and your dedication to our service members and their families. 20 years ago, our world broke apart, and the shockwaves of 9/11 continue today. But as the President and I visited the September 11th memorials this weekend, I was reminded of the humanity that shined through the inhumanity of that day. There was a call to defend the values we hold dear as we waged a global war on terror. And a courageous group of men and women stepped forward to say, me. I will go. And that includes you, Harry. You live by a simple principle: serve together, recover together. It's a philosophy not limited by the flag you wear. Your brothers and sisters in arms are connected by something so much deeper than the borders that separate us. And you've dedicated your time, talents, and heart to lifting up service members from around the globe. In fact, it's hard to believe it's been 7 years since the first Invictus Games in London. The memories of it are still so fresh in my mind. Every race and game more thrilling than the last. But there was one moment that I will never forget. At the start of a swimming heat, a woman wheeled herself to the edge of the pool and carefully lifted herself into the water. When the other racers were through, she was still digging deep to get to the finish line. But her teammates lined up along the side of the pool and cheered as loudly as they could. Then the other swimmers and athletes from all different countries came over as well. With each stroke she took, the crowd shouted and chanted encouragement until she made it to the end. Her victory and the community that came together around her took my breath away. That heart, that fearlessness that keep pushing through the obstacles is what I've seen from this community again and again. I've seen it in so many visits to Walter Reed, talking to service members who told me that not only would they walk again, they would run again. Courage, sacrifice, resilience. By being a part of the Warrior Games, you have not only overcome injuries, both visible and invisible. You show us all that our challenges never have to define us. And I have to say that I've seen something else at those events and hospital visits. Families and caregivers serving alongside their loved ones. Your service didn't end when your loved one came home. In many ways, it was just beginning. Every day, you continue to love, honor, and care for our service members and veterans. And they can't thrive if you don't have the resources you have earned. And that's why supporting your physical, social, and emotional health is a national security imperative. Our White House initiative, Joining Forces, is dedicated to doing just that. We're going to focus on military family employment and military child education. We're going to make sure you can get the quality childcare when you need it. And we're going to make sure that you have mental health support, because your families and our troops deserve nothing less. This community has shouldered the enormous weight of our conflicts for 2 decades now. And all of you carry the physical and emotional reminders of that sacrifice. It's a debt we can never repay, but we can honor your service and work every day to make your path a little easier. Now, like all of you, I wish we were here in person today, celebrating your victories on the court, at the track, or in the pool. You've worked so hard to prepare for these Warrior Games, only to have them taken away by the pandemic. Still, I know that once again, the uncommon strength and determination that has defined this community push you to keep working and striving toward your goals. So I'm excited to hear from some of you today, and I can't wait to see the rest of you and your families at the next Games. Ken?
Thank you again, Dr. Biden, for your continued support.
Thanks.
I'd now like to welcome Secretary of Defense for the United States, Secretary Lloyd Austin. Secretary Austin was sworn in as the 28th Secretary of Defense on January 22nd, 2021. He graduated from the United States Military Academy with a Bachelor of Science degree and a commission in the infantry. He holds a Master of Arts degree in Counselor Education from Auburn University and a Master of Business Management from Webster University. He is a graduate of the Infantry Officer Basic and Advanced Courses, the Army Command and General Staff College, and the Army War College. His 41-year career in the Army included command at the Corps, Division, Battalion, and Brigade levels. Secretary Austin was awarded the Silver Star for his leadership of the Army's 3rd Infantry Division during the invasion of Iraq in 2003. 7 years later, he would assume the duties of Commanding General of the United States Forces Iraq, overseeing all combat operations in theater. After a tour as the Army's Vice Chief of Staff, Secretary Austin concluded his uniformed service as Commander of U.S. Central Command, responsible for all military operations in the Middle East and Afghanistan. In this assignment, he led the U.S. and coalition efforts to battle ISIS in Iraq and Syria. He retired from the Army in April 2016 and continues to support adaptive sports and recovery efforts, including the Department of Defense Warrior Games. Secretary Austin, thank you so much for being here today. Let me turn it over to you, sir.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Ken, for that introduction. I really appreciate all the work that the Fisher House Foundation does to create a home away from home for military families. I'd also like to thank our outstanding First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, for her deep commitment to our men and women in uniform, and our veterans, and our families and caregivers. And Prince Harry, thank you for your service during 2 tours in Afghanistan with the British Army and for being a champion of veterans in this community. But most of all, I want to pay tribute to the incredible athletes on this call. Now, I'll start with the obvious. We're on Zoom when we wanted to be together in person. I really wish that I was meeting you in Orlando and lighting the cauldron at the opening ceremony together and celebrating your achievements. You trained hard, you wanted to compete, and you wanted to win. But even though we won't light the Warrior Games cauldron this year, I want you to remember that fire only represents the fire that burns inside of each of you. The fire that drives you onward past any setback. And the one that has made you a stronger, more resilient warrior. And that fire will never go out. Your recovery, resolve, and resilience is absolutely inspiring. And your fellow wingmen and shipmates or battle buddies, they all look up to you. So remind them that reaching out is always a sign of strength and courage. And make sure that they know that they can lean on this community, because the collective strength of family and friends and teammates and coaches and caregivers matches your own. Above all, I remain immensely proud of your service. You raised your right hand to defend this nation, and you sacrificed to protect our democracy. And you prove each and every day that you have so much more to give. I'm incredibly lucky and honored to call you my teammates and fellow veterans. In the spirit of the Warrior Games, you have excelled at every mission that our country has asked of you. So if you don't mind, I want to point you toward your next mission. I want you to keep training. I want you to set new goals for yourself, and I want you to take care of your teammates and to look ahead to the next competition. And all of us absolutely cannot wait to cheer you on. Thank you very much, and back over to you, Ken.
Thank you, Secretary Austin, not only for being here today, but for your continued support of adaptive sports. We appreciate it. I'd now like to introduce Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, who's a humanitarian, mental wellness advocate, environmentalist, and military veteran. As co-founder of Archwell, he is focused on driving systemic change across all communities through nonprofit work as well as creative activations. The mission across Archwell, which currently includes Archwell Foundation, Archwell Productions, and Archwell Audio, is united behind the deeply held belief that compassion is the defining cultural force of the 21st century. In fact, Prince Harry has dedicated his life's work to advancing causes that he is passionate about. He is the founder of the Invictus Games, a platform for wounded, injured, and sick service personnel to use sport as part of their rehabilitation, something I know a little about, as well as Travelist, a nonprofit entity comprised of several of the largest online travel agencies in the world. Additionally, he co-founded Santa Bali with his dear friend, Prince Seso of Lesotho, in memory of their mother's charitable work in combating the HIV crisis, and serves as president of the African Parks, a non-governmental organization focused on protecting Africa's ecosystems in partnership with local communities and governments. He was named Chief Impact Officer at Better Up, a world-class coaching platform that helps people everywhere achieve their own version of peak performance, and serves on the Aspen Institute Commission on Information Disorder, which brought together critical voices across public, private, and civil society landscape to respond to today's mis- and disinformation crisis. Prince Harry served in the British Army for 10 years, rising to the rank of captain and undertaking 2 tours in Afghanistan. And I must say it's been my absolute privilege to work with him. Prince Harry, over to you, sir.
Ken, thank you very much. It's nice to see you looking so well after this last year. And I've certainly missed you, and thank you for that introduction. Dr. Biden, it's an absolute pleasure and a joy to see you again after so many years, as you quite rightly pointed out. This week, 7 years ago, I think was the first time that we met in the Invictus Games in London, and then again in Orlando, and again in Toronto. And you don't need to hear this from me, but from everybody on this call and everybody across the entire military community across the world, thank you for your service and your just continued support over all these years. It's been fantastic to see you in action in various parts of the world, giving everything that you've got to so many people, to not just those who wear the uniform, but to the families as well. A lot of them wouldn't be here without you. So thank you. And just an enormous hello and thank you to every single one of you. The backgrounds that I'm seeing, people in cars, people in their rooms, some in uniform, some in civvies, some got children, or some had children at the beginning, have now escorted the children away from the screen for various different reasons. It's such a joy to see every single one of you. This is what it is. It was what it's all about. I am so sorry that we're not all together at the Warrior Games where we should be. The pandemic has certainly changed or flipped life upside down for so many people. We all know how important the training is for these moments. It's not about the medals. It's not even so much about the winning, as far as most of us are concerned. You guys have already won. But I will never forget that first visit that I had to the Warrior Games, which inspired me to create the Invictus Games. And the Invictus Games never would have been created had I not been inspired by every single one of you and your companions and the families for everything that you give to the service of this country. So again, just an enormous thank you. These games are so important, whether it's the Warrior Games, whether it's the Invictus Games. It is ultimately the reminder of service, both at home and overseas. It is about caring for our physical as well as our mental fitness of those that have sacrificed so much. And that, again, is not just those who wear the uniform, but every single one of you, because as we know, once served, always serving. And that goes across the whole family network. And it is often the families that give so much, but that are sometimes forgotten. So to see every single one of you here with the pride on your faces makes me incredibly happy to know how far you guys have come, the dark places that you've been to, but where you are now, stronger than ever before, no doubt. And that is partly, if not mainly, down to sport. And everybody on this call recognizes and understands the importance of sport plays in every single person's life. But as part of rehabilitation, whether it's physical or mental, there really is nothing else that beats it. So again, thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for showing us the way. You guys are leaders in every aspect of your lives, both while serving and both within your community as well. And this community is as strong as ever. And that also makes me incredibly proud. I look forward to hearing from as many of you as possible after this, if not in the first part of the call, then the second part of the call, depending on how many children are screaming down the Zoom at the same time. But again, just an enormous amount of appreciation from myself and just immense gratitude, because to see you guys smiling when I know how much you've been through, it's not just about yourselves and your families, but you have to remember that you're doing this also for your brothers and sisters in arms and those people that are in a really dark place. You know what it's like. You've been there yourselves and you have recovered for yourself, and now you are leading them to their own recovery. So for that, I thank you. Ken, back to you.
Thank you, Prince Harry, for your comments, as well as for your support for the military and adaptive sports over the years. I'd now like to introduce one of the athletes who's here with us today, Master Sergeant Brian Williams and his wife, Emily. Master Sergeant Williams joined the Air Force in 2000 as Security Forces Military Working Dog Handler. During his second deployment to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, he was injured by an IED after attempting to clear a known Taliban compound. The blast resulted in amputation of his left leg above the knee and caused damage to his left arm. He later said that if it weren't for a watch he was wearing on that wrist during the blast, he would have lost his hand in the explosion as well. Despite his injuries, he worked hard to stay on active duty, earning a position as Security Forces instructor. Brian competed in the 2015 and 2016 Warrior Games, as well as the 2016 Invictus Games, and says adaptive sports gives him, quote, a new sense of purpose, unquote, and an outlook of what he could possibly do once he finished his enlistment. He's the recipient of the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, the Air Force Commendation Medal, the Air Force Achievement Medal, and the Legion of Merit. Thank you, Brian, for being with us today. Let me turn it over to you, sir, for your comments.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the call, Mr. Fisher, Prince Harry, Secretary Austin, First Lady Jill Biden, all my fellow athletes, Army, Marine, Navy, Air Force. It's humbling to be able to spend some time with you on this phone call. Obviously, we do wish we were all together in Orlando. We will have to find a way to adapt over this environment as we see fit. You heard the orders from Secretary Austin to get out there and train. And if this Warrior Games meant that as much to you as it did to me and others, we're going to have to find a way around it. And instead of talk about adapting, we need to be about adapting and find our way back on that roster some way, somehow, as far as life and everything that succumbs to that. So thanks for having me. Thanks for having me and Emily here to share this call with you all.
Thank you, Brian, for sharing a little bit of your story, and we're happy to have you and Emily here today. Now I'd like to introduce one more athlete to say a few words. Retired Staff Sergeant Joel Rodriguez, who's here with his family, including his wife, Liani, and children Elijah and Layla. After attending firefighting school, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez enlisted in the Army in March 2009. He attended basic combat training at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and advanced individual training at Fort Rucker, Alabama, where he attained MOS 15 Quebec Air Traffic Control Tower Operator. His first duty station was Camp Humphreys, South Korea, where he was assigned as an air traffic control specialist in the 4th of the 58th Aviation Regiment. During Staff Sergeant Rodriguez's 2-year tenure in South Korea, he participated in 26 field missions, including 2 Ulchi Freedom Guardian missions. And while in South Korea, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez discovered his love for traveling, by visiting Guam, Thailand, and China. In 2011, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez had a permanent change of station to Fort Rucker, Alabama, where he was assigned to the 1st of the 58th Aviation Regiment and later reassigned to the 1st of the 11th Aviation Regiment in 2013. So he's been busy. During his time at Fort Rucker, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez participated in over 200,000 aircraft movements and was awarded 2 control tower operator certificates. Then in July 2014, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez was in a motor vehicle accident resulting in a spinal cord injury. 3 weeks after his initial stabilization, he was transferred to James A. Haley Veterans Hospital to complete his rehabilitation. Since completing rehab, he has maintained his warrior spirit through competition. He's competed in 5 National Veterans Wheelchair Games, represented Team Army in the 2019 Warrior Games Tampa, represented Team US in 2018 Invictus Games in Sydney, Australia, and is on the current team to participate in the 2022 Invictus Games in The Hague, Netherlands. Joel, a sincere thanks to you and your family for your dedication and your sacrifices and for being with us today. Let me turn it over to you, sir.
How you doing, sir? Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for what you do for myself and all my brothers and sisters that are out there. Secretary Austin, thank you, sir. Prince Harry, thank you for being here. And First Lady Biden, thank you for being here as well. I'm extremely honored to be here. I'm actually at a loss for words right now. Thank you guys for everything. And I just want to, like I said, I'm completely at a loss for words. The amount of emotion that I get when it comes to competing is overwhelming for me. I've competed against many of you guys, and I've competed with you guys, and that honestly resonates in my heart. It's something that I have instilled in my family. My family comes with me everywhere I go. A lot of you guys have met them. A lot of you guys have seen my son grow. I know Master Sergeant Williams over here, he's seen my son when he was just barely 1 at Sydney, Australia, and he's now 4. So, you know, the amount of competition that was out there for this year's Warrior Games would have been incredible. And I'm excited that now we're doing the virtual challenge that's going on right now that had its kickoff today. And I will be competing in that. I'll be doing some swimming and I will be doing my field events as well. So the fight is, we are still fighting out there. We are still competing. And, you know, I've talked to my teammates already, and I've said for them to just continuously train, that everybody will come back stronger, will be better, and the next games will be incredible. I'm excited to see all my teammates for Team US in The Hague. And once again, thank you guys for having me out here.
Thank you, Joel and Liani, and your family. Pardon?
I said thank you all very much. I mean, you guys have consistently supported us. I mean, even through his injury and initially. So we can't thank Fisher House enough. You guys have supporting. And we're going to go ahead and apologize. Obviously, we do have young kids.
That's okay.
You can go ahead and say hi and thank you.
Say hi.
Excuse us. Sorry. Thank you all so very much. Honestly, we are very honored. And I can't say enough. I'm so proud of each and every one of you athletes. I know it was a hard, swallow when games got canceled, but I can't say, as a family member watching you all train so hard and, really look forward to this. I know how much it hurt, but I am so proud of each and every one of you guys and so honored for all that you all do for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you both for sharing your story. You're really an inspiration to everyone, and we thank you. And I also want to thank the First Lady and Secretary Austin and Prince Harry for being so generous with their time, and to thank you and your families for your time today and for being a part of today's event. Not a day goes by that we are not inspired by your determination, your resiliency, and your dedication. You represent the best of the best, not only from this country, but those of other countries that served as well. And we will remain committed to supporting you all. Thank you for your service and your sacrifice. And we wish you the best as you continue on your journey. God bless you all. Thank you.